All right, guys, it's story time. So it's a Saturday. I'm here in Phoenix and doing some urban camping in the big city. And this story is going to be about how I left a public library because I met such a low vibrational individual that worked there. It made me not want to stay. So the reason I'm going to tell you this is so that you can judge me and tell me what you would have done. Would you do the same? Would you have done something differently? What's your take on it? You're basically going to hear a story from my point of view only. So obviously there's another point of view. This person that I had a dialogue and interaction with briefly. But essentially what happened is I chose voluntarily to leave a library that I had just I'd never been there before, and I came in with my suitcase that has a desktop iMac in it, and I do have a laptop, but it's old. I don't really use it, and all my work and everything is on this other machine, and it's just been easier for me to keep the desktop that I have. It's not ideal. I really should have a laptop, like a Mac, but since I don't right now, it's the best screen for me to be able to work on to make videos. And since that's what I've been doing most of this week, I've been using several public libraries. So I spent the last 4 to 5 days in a library, editing videos and uploading them, and using my own connection, not using the Wi-Fi, because I don't have a library card. I'm not a resident here. I'm traveling. But these two other libraries that I've been at, I've had great experiences. When I was in Quartzsite, I had a good experience, basically working with librarians. I always ask, do you mind if I set this up? Make sure that they are okay with me, bringing that into the library and basically just using their electricity. That's all I'm doing. I don't need a private room. They do have usually study rooms at these places, but they're only, you can only use them for about 2 hours. And the main thing is, I've actually had to abort uploads and things like that because I ran out of time, and I'm, kind of getting used to uploading videos and how long it takes with the connection that I have. Like yesterday I did a 46-minute video upload. It took over 6 hours. So I'm gonna have to streamline that somehow. But I basically just stayed in the library and let it upload, and have worked with the people that work there who are like, oh yeah, stay as long as you need to, so set up anywhere. And so it really has not been any type of an issue. And so I have been moving kind of closer to downtown because I'm gonna go out probably tonight. That's the plan. I'm gonna go to an all-girl bar and check out some drag kings, because you know what a drag queen is, I'm sure, which there's a lot of those, but there's not that many drag kings. And I actually have done some drag and some open mic stand-up stuff, so this is one of the things that I'm interested in. And I actually do not know any other drag kings, people that put on a costume and it's cosplay, it can be a little threatening, I know, for some people, that some people are cross-dressers, but I do it for, comedic purposes. It's not a full-time gig for me, but just like drag queens are usually like lip syncing, karaokeing, dancing, drag kings are, it's sort of in that realm of entertainment that is very closely related to comedy. And that's what it is for me. And, they say if you are a comic or an actor, if you can do it in drag, that's kind of like, a skill set that a lot of actors, don't really ever experience or want to. But for me, it's been a lot of fun. Anyway, so that's my plan for later tonight, and I am going to get to a library here today, but I just had lunch sitting out here at this park, and it's been a couple hours now, I guess, since this event actually happened at a local library. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but like I said, I've had, mainly very, very, I typically always get along with people in libraries, bookstores, new and used bookstores, teachers, academics, intellectuals, maybe just because they can tell I'm a little bit bookish and I love books, I love to read, and usually people that have those same interests are, you can kind of sense that. Plus I'm always polite and I ask first. So when I got to this library, I, went up to the front counter and just, checked in with the person behind the desk. It was a woman who I would say, I don't know, might be over 50 or 60. And, it's like an information desk. And I said, do you mind if I set up my desktop? And, what, my usual, like, asking for permission, because this is their place, right? And she said, well, I don't know, let me find out. And she got up and she walked into an office and asked somebody, like, it sounded like her supervisor or some, another employee, like she didn't know what the policy was, which is a little unusual. Typically, all the other libraries I've gone to have just been, oh yeah, and you can go here, there's, or do you want a room, and just super helpful. So this lady, she comes back and is, telling me, yeah, it's okay, but the electricity doesn't work over here on this side, and the study rooms were full, and but I wasn't asking about a study room. I really just wanted just a, kind of a spot to set up and just kind of plug in, because the desktop doesn't have a battery like a laptop does. And the main thing is, well, something is, like in progress, like uploading, that I don't have to pull the plug and lose the work and start all over again. So I was looking for a place where I could kind of just park it for a little while, and I think she got that. But yeah, she was acting like she just didn't really know. And so I asked her very, straightforwardly, just, in a normal tone of voice. I just, oh, are you new at the job, And she said, no, I've been here for years. And I said, oh, and she says, well, just nobody's ever asked that before. I guess nobody's ever come through that particular library with a desktop and want to just, plug it in. And I didn't want to use their computers, their laptops with the Wi-Fi, because unless you have a library card, it I don't know. I've done that at some of the other libraries, but it's sort of I don't know, times out after 20. It's not a way to upload video. So basically, I've just been kind of using the library for their so I can spread out a little bit. I don't take up much space at all. In fact, yesterday I just used a chair that had like a tiny little area with a desk, and that was plenty for my keyboard, my mouse. The keyboard's kind of on my lap, but mainly just kind of setting, and it's the small desktop, not the big one. And so, anyways, but I noticed like her tone is like a little bit off for the type of conversation we're having, which is purely informational. And there's like a little bit of snot, like in her voice, that just seems to be like, I don't think it has anything to do with me, and I don't take things personally. The way other people treat me is none of my business, and it's about them. But I'm just, kind of taking it in that, like, for some reason you seem, I don't know, like unhappy and sort of taking it out on me for like no reason. But I stay calm and I'm smiling, and she does sort of lead me over to this area where there are some round tables, and shows me the tables where they do have electricity working. Apparently these tables that are right next to it, some of them electricity, it's like, is it this? I really think that this is all like, under one circuit breaker, but okay. Anyways, so she's telling me this is like the only area that I can set up, and they were like small round tables with 4 chairs around them, and they were like almost all occupied. There was only like 1 or 2 that weren't, and the people that were there were like several people were there, multiple people, and they were talking loudly and not really working or reading. And so it was very noisy, and I knew that was going to be distracting, not to mention just, it'd be nice to have a little bit of privacy and be able to set up where, not everybody walking by can, like see, everything that I'm doing on my computer and my password and stuff like that. So, anyway, so I thought about it. I thought about, parking it there. But I've got to be a little bit picky about the real estate because, I'm trying to get work done, and I don't want to have to abort an upload or, deal with being, hassled or having to listen to a bunch of noise and stuff like that. And so I kind of felt like if I did park it there, it wasn't going to be a very productive spot for me to work. And so she walked off, and then I sort of kind of, wheeled my little suitcase, kind of looking around, just like, isn't there anywhere else in this library where I can just like plug this in and maybe just like use a chair? And so I just walked a little further away, and there was a chair with another little chair I could have used, as a desk, and there was an electric outlet like right there by the window, by the floor, and it was kind of in a little private spot. It wasn't a room. And anyways, so I was thinking I could kind of set up there, and the next thing I know, this lady is like right behind me again, and it was like she said, well, this is the children's area, and yeah, a little farther away there were some just regular tables and chairs and things like that. And it was in fact by the children's books. There were no children there. And I said, well, I basically just kind of, need a little bit more of a private spot. And, yesterday I was at a library where I set up, and I was just in a chair, and I can put my computer on, and use this as a desk. And would that be okay? And again, there was like kind of just like this, like no, like, this is, there was like this unneeded sort of snot in her voice. And I said, I said, you really don't want me here, do you? And she kind of, started backpedaling and stuff. But, that was about the third time that we had interacted, and all 3 times I felt like her snotty was sort of coming out. And, I just didn't feel comfortable. And so she kind of started backpedaling, like, oh no, but I said, I just don't feel welcome here. I'm gonna leave. And then and I said it just like that, just very calmly, and then I just walked out. And that's how I handled it. I just left. So what would you have done? How long will you tolerate someone that, you feel like is putting out negativity for no particular reason? Because I think often in life we're tested by people that, it was almost like, she was like a catalyst. She was acting as a catalyst, testing me to determine, how much would I put up with? How much SHIT would I put up with from her? And what's the answer? 0. And I'm glad I did, because, old Chris would have probably just, put up with it. I'm already here. My self-talk would be, I'm already here. It's taken me 5 minutes to get my suitcase out and wheeled it into the building. I've got a long walk back to my vehicle to basically now, I'm choosing to, pack it all back up and go find another library. But you know what? I do have options. There are plenty of other libraries. And I know that this isn't the only one. There's another one nearby. And I'm pretty sure I can get better service than this someplace else, because I have traditionally always been able to get along with library staff. And the fact that this lady is acting the way that she's acting is a bit of an anomaly for me. And there are people who, I can kind of write stuff off as like, I just think maybe they're having a bad day. But with this lady, that isn't the vibe I was getting. I was getting more like this is her kind of core personality. So like if I worked there, I probably would not enjoy her as a coworker. Like, she probably wouldn't be my favorite person, because she seemed really uptight. I sensed that she was deeply, deeply unhappy, and that this was her way of, I guess maybe, feeling like she had a little bit of power. And I have worked in mental health and behavioral health enough that I've worked, basically in an asylum, mental health, abnormal psychology, people with personalities, or everything in the DSM-4. I've seen a lot, and I'm not her therapist, but if I was, my impressions would be, she's kind of one of those people who just maybe gets off on being able to say no to people, because that's the only power that she maybe has, and that kind of gives her a thrill. And without that, she probably would not feel very powerful. And it's just sort of a person. So I felt like that was her personality, not just that she, like something happened that day, or that she was going through a hard time and just sort of taking it out on the people that she's there to serve. Yeah, I didn't want to be around it. If I had stayed, my self-talk would be like, I can't believe that I'm still here in proximity to this lady, and she probably would have kept just like bothering me or something, because I didn't leave. I really, really felt like she was testing me to see like how much I would put up with. And again, the answer is 0. I don't want to be around you anymore. I would not want to be trapped in an elevator with you. I would not want to have coffee with you. I would not want to work with you. And, like I said, it takes a lot to turn me off, because I have had these jobs where, I've basically worked with people that most people, you would never want to work with the clients and the populations and put up with some of the stuff that I have put up with to do the job. And in the course of, being in the profession, I mean, you learn everything's behavior, and you learn to separate, and this is something anybody can do. It's just an attitude shift. Instead of condemning the person themselves, you need to separate, the person from their behavior. All right. So on a soul level, I have nothing against this lady. I really just love everybody. But that doesn't mean that I necessarily enjoy you or want to be around you or put up with your behavior. And, there's so many fun, lighthearted people that I would rather give it my time and attention to. And I would much rather go somewhere that isn't staffed with someone that's putting that out there. And, I'm pretty sensitive to, other people's stuff. And, I've gotten paid to, put up with a lot of people's stuff. And, as a self-employed person, I am, choosing to do work now where I am interested in working with people who, are not taking themselves out on others when, they have no excuse. They have there was absolutely no reason to talk to me in that tone of voice. I just met you. I don't know you. And yet, for some reason, that was the treatment that I got. I'm not one to start anything. I never say things like, let me speak to your supervisor. I don't Yelp. I don't leave bad reviews. I could. And I read other people's bad reviews all the time. I just, I don't want to condemn others. And I felt like the best way to handle it was, to be like a teacher or a mirror for her on just a very small level, that the best thing that I could do for her was to teach her, you know what, I'm just going to leave because you have made me feel unwelcome. Only I didn't say you. I just said, I just don't feel welcome here. Because if you use the word you, that can come off snotty. And I didn't want to do that to her back. So I wasn't starting anything. I used I feel statements. I just don't feel welcome here. And that's being assertive. And let her think about that. Maybe she went back to her desk and thought, how could I have handled that better? I am an employee here and my job is to be helpful. And this lady came in and, basically left quickly because she didn't feel welcome and I was the only person that interacted with her. And maybe she will start to see herself, ask herself some of the tough questions, which she might have a pattern in her life of people abandoning her. Maybe that's why she's unhappy. And maybe she doesn't know why. That would be my guess. I'm sure she has a trauma history and all kinds of stuff, but so do I. So do most people. It's not an excuse. I'm not taking my stuff out on others. When I was less conscious, I probably did, yeah. And I had to learn, what? Everyone has some type of trauma in their background. It doesn't mean you get a license to treat other people badly just because you were treated badly. Because if that were true, honestly, I would have a machine gun. But no, I'm a total pacifist. I'm pretty hard to turn off, because I'm looking for the good in others. And this lady, I think there's hope for her. Again, I don't bear her any ill will whatsoever, but I do think that the best thing that I could have done for her is just not stick around and take it. So that's how I handled it. And I left as soon as I walked out of the building, and and people saw me leave. Like, there was like a security person probably wondering, like, why are you leaving so quickly? And so, and maybe some of the other employees that were there wondered why as well. Like, why did this library patron, who could Yelp, who could leave a bad review, why was this person so turned off that they would rather leave than stay? And it was not a busy library, except for that one little area. And almost nobody was on like their public computers. Everybody that was at those tables just had like their phones out, or they were talking loudly to other people when, obviously the library is, not really meant to have your loud conversations and your powwows and things like that. Or maybe you should go someplace else for that. So that didn't seem to be a problem. It just wasn't conducive for me getting any work done productively. And, the snot factor was there in abundance for no good reason. And I just, wasn't gonna put up with it. But there's been plenty of times in my past where I have put up with things too long, when I could have left. So one of the things that I enjoy about this lifestyle, now that I've, given up being in just a fixed location, I have a mobile lifestyle. And one of the great things about that is, it gives you a lot more experience with, like, I'm gonna leave. I can leave easily. And there's a lot of freedom in that. So the more experience you get with that, like leaving a situation where you're not comfortable, and you don't have to be there. I think that is a life skill, and that's something that we all should develop for ourselves and for other people, because the people that don't get along are actively, taking their and projecting their negativity. I would label her like kind of a negative Nelly. That's my diagnosis. My DSM-4 diagnosis is just negative Nelly and control freak. I was getting pure control freak from her, and I wasn't going to stay and be the victim of that type of toxicity. I'm into finding authenticity, not toxicity. And yeah, I mean, she basically blew it. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to take my little high vibrational self and I am going to go find another library. Maybe I can find one where I'm welcome. Because all I'm doing is trying to get work done, which is why people go to the library, right? Or to read or to work on a computer. So anyways, that's what happened. And I am curious what you think. And I'm sure you've had a similar situation where someone, was just immediately negative, or, had like that little snotty in their voice for no apparent reason. And we've probably all done it too. I can actually think of times, maybe when I was having a bad day, mainly when I was younger. Sometimes, I did when I was more unhealed. Let's say that I was taking myself sometimes out on others unconsciously, because I hadn't healed, because but then you start getting negative feedback, right? And that's what helps you see yourself so you can change. So I think the best thing that I could have done for her as a teacher is just, I'm basically just in the role of, another library customer patron. And it is a public library. I'm not a resident here, but I'm supporting the community as a tourist, shopping in the stores, paying the sales tax and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm just passing through. I'm basically just here for, a few days, maybe a couple weeks. And I probably would never go back to that library again. Like I was just gonna, use it for one day, and it sort of was, it's like on my way to like this, this club that I want to go to later tonight. And that's the only reason why I picked it. It was just on the map and it was on my route. That's all. So, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. If you would have handled anything differently, what are your thoughts? And let me know, because I'm interested in your opinions. And I think we've all had to, at times, navigate, our way through dealing with other people who maybe just don't feel very good about themselves, and need to understand that if that's the way you're going to treat people, that they might leave, they might abandon you, and that gives you a chance to ask yourself, why? Could it be me? Do you think that lady is still at work thinking, maybe it was me. maybe I could work on my personality a little bit. I hope so. Maybe she's watching. Who knows? Wouldn't that be funny? It would have been nice to actually have a real, like, sit down, like, lady, sit down with me. Like, what is going on with you? What, but see, that would have been confrontational. And it wasn't the time or the place for that. You know, it was her job. And again, I'm not the type to like be like, well, can I speak with your supervisor? You know, and like make some big deal out of it, or to leave a bad review. It was purely like on a soul level, a teaching moment for her to understand that not everyone cares that she's like setting herself up to be some type of a gatekeeper for, like, you know, where somebody can sit at the library, because that's really what it came down to. It's like, I'm out of here. All right, so let me know what you think. Did I handle it appropriately? Would you have done anything different? And I'll look forward to reading those comments. Thank you.